Tyson Foods is closing down a major beef processing plant in Lexington, Nebraska. Let's talk about the effects of what this is going to bring. This causes a false sense of supply and demand issue within the area. With a plant that closes that was doing upwards around 5,000 head of cattle a day, those cattle are going to have to go somewhere else, and you can guess who owns the next closest processing plant. You got it right, Tyson Foods. So now that Tyson's other plant is being flooded with beef, they're going to be able to set the price that they're buying these cattle for, screwing over the ranchers and the sellers who are selling them these cattle, because the buyer sets the price, not the seller. So Tyson buys these animals for less. They still have the same amount of demand, so they're going to be charging you, the American consumer, the same price or even higher prices because now they have to process more cattle. Tell me how that works. But this is all part of the game plan that goes unchecked and unchallenged. These people are allowed to do this whenever they want because they control the market. So the rancher makes less, you pay more, Tyson makes billions of dollars. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments below.
Because they were heartbroken. They don't want to go anywhere. This is their home.
The Tyson plant gave us notice of a layoff procedure, warn notice, over a week ago. They'll be closing their facility as of January 20th, impacting 3,200 individuals for the community of Lexington. The general mood of the individuals coming in for our services, of course, is anxiety. What do I do next? Will I have a job? Where do I go? And what do I do from here? Tyson workers make up about 3,200 of the population of 11,000 of Lexington, and so they have a great impact upon the culture, schools, and everything that a community is comprised of.
We just hardworking people. What we do is go to work, come to church. That's all we do here.
These plants have been underutilized, and we have a shortage of cattle out there in the U.S., and because of that, very vulnerable that somebody might shut down. We have a very strong community in Lexington that really is close-knit and very accepting of the packing industry as well as all industries.
Hello everyone, my name is Kola, and let's talk about what's really happening in Nebraska right now. The Tyson, yes, that same Tyson, one of the biggest food companies in America. It's shutting down operations and thousands of people are about to be out of their jobs. So first, for anyone who doesn't know, Tyson Food isn't some small company. They deal with meat processing, they deal with beef, chicken, pork, you name it. This is literally food supply, and they work with farmers, factory workers, truck drivers, and so much more. This is an entire ecosystem. So when a Tyson plant closes, it's not just one company being shut down. No, it's a whole town being impacted by it. Rent, schools, small businesses feeling the pain of this closure. And now the craziest part is a lot of the people being hit the hardest are the same people who voted for this, and now they're finding out the hard way. And I know it is so devastating to lose your jobs, but let's first watch how people are reacting to this sudden closure of Tyson Foods, and then we're going to come back with our full commentary at the end of the video. And you guys, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'll gladly appreciate if you guys did so.
If you want a live review of the impact of corporate greed in America, you need to look no further than what's happening right now in Lexington, Nebraska. Hi, my name is Beverly. I'm a Chief Operating Officer and your Chief Empowerment Officer. Tyson Foods, yes, those chicken nuggets, announced that they are laying off 3,000 of the 11,000 people who live in Lexington, Nebraska. 30% of the town is going to lose their jobs. 30%. But that's not all. Because Tyson is the largest employer in that town, there is going to be a projected increase of job losses anywhere up to 7,000 people in that town losing their jobs because of the ripple effects. Everyone, I want you to meet Donnie. Donnie is the CEO of the company that owns Tyson, Jimmy Dean Foods, Hillshire Farms. Yeah, he made $34 million last year, according to SEC filing reports. He gave himself a little raise in 2025 because in 2024, he made $22 million. And while the official reporting from Tyson is that they are working with the workers to provide job support assistance to get them into a transition role and set them up for a new opportunity, we all know what that means. Because come around January 20th, which is when they said that all of these folks will be effectively losing their jobs and the town will start to disintegrate, these 3,200 people will be without a job. And subsequently, several thousands more from the closing of restaurants, clinics, businesses who rely on that infrastructure from a large plant like a Tyson. Manufacturers, people who work in food processing plants, these are the people who help keep our country running. And while I cannot find any reports on the compensation package that they are giving these folks who are being laid off in a couple of weeks, I know that it's not enough. And you and I both know that it's not enough. Maybe you all as the audience can help me understand this in case I'm missing something. If cattle supply is decreasing, droughts are increasing, and beef sales are decreasing, can you help me understand why C-suite salaries for Tyson are increasing, knowing that they are destroying the livelihoods of an entire town of people? Imagine that. Like you get home from work and somebody's like, "Hey honey, how was work today?" "Oh, nothing much, sweetie. I obliterated a town in Nebraska. That was something interesting today." And I'm working on Texas too because we're going after those plants. But anyway, do we have pickleball coming up? If you or somebody you love is an impacted Tyson food worker, I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments, either now or following January 20th, whenever you're comfortable. This is a generational misfire by Tyson. There's somebody who I saw in an article who dedicated 35 years of their life to working at Tyson plants while living in that town. Maybe choose a different chicken nugget tonight.
Well. So this past Friday, Tyson announced that they were going to be closing a factory in Lexington, Nebraska that employs 3,200 workers. Because I think it's incredibly important to keep track of these things, a reminder that 72% of people in Dawson County, Nebraska voted for Donald Trump, and they voted for this to happen to themselves. And the reality is you probably voted just so that Riley Gaines could feel vindicated for finishing tied for 5th place. Not that we need further proof to explain why Donald Trump's trade and economic policies are disastrous for this country. This is actually real-time results. Starting on November 13th, where Trump announced that he is going to be rolling back tariffs on a wide range of agricultural products, including certain beef items. You can see this on the official whitehouse.gov website. The president has thus determined that certain agricultural products shall no longer be subject to the reciprocal tariffs. I'm sorry, wasn't this the foundation of the entire campaign that he ran on? Beef has its own little bullet point. And Trump justifies this by saying it is a move aimed at easing high prices and meeting domestic demand. Let's put a pin in that. You've got his reciprocal tariffs that are driving up prices for the American consumer, but demand still exists. However, people don't want to pay the higher prices, so he removes the tariffs on the international imports of beef. And what the president is effectively saying when he does this is American products and domestically made things are too expensive. Corporations can't make profits if they rely on domestically produced goods, and Trump loves free trade capitalism, so this is what happens. Senator Deb Fischer of Nebraska says basically, this is awful and will have devastating results. Well, it's a good thing you just raise healthcare premiums for your constituents. Representative Mike Flood says our cattle ranchers are being abandoned. Well, Trump basically said this back in February during his State of the Union address, where he said, "Ranchers, farmers, I love you. You're gonna go through pain, but it'll be worth it, and I love you." Governor Jim Pollan said there's plenty of opportunities for our cattle rancher farmers. Well, glass half full, I guess. This is a perfect example of how to combat the number one thing that MAGA says when it comes to the tariffs. If tariffs are bad, then why do other countries do it? Tariffs aren't bad. The EU uses tariffs very strategically. They use them, though, to protect their domestic manufacturers and industries. By putting tariffs on beef imports, it actually allows our cattle ranchers and our beef industries to be able to compete with the pricing from the other countries. When you lift the tariffs, then we rely on the foreign imports. The president just traded off our cattle ranchers in Nebraska for Brazil, Canada, Mexico, and you guessed it, Argentina. So a reminder to 72% of you in Dawson County, you absolutely voted for this.
Boy, I haven't brought y'all a fuck around and find out story in so long in months. But I got a good one for y'all today, y'all. So, Tyson Foods, you know the maker of meat and beef, has decided to close down their factory in Lexington, Nebraska because of Donald Trump tariffs on beef. And y'all know who voted for Donald Trump in Lexington? 75% of their residents voted for Donald Trump in 2024. Now, Tyson Food is about to lay off 3,000 employees at their plant, which the whole area is only 11,000. So that's 1 out of 3, basically, folks about to lose their job in Lexington, Nebraska. Now, that's a fuck around and find out story for you. They wanted everything to happen to us. They wanted everything to happen to them. But now they are losing their jobs because they chose to vote for racism. Now, 3,000 of them don't know what they're going to do because this was the biggest plant in Lexington, Nebraska. Now they don't have nowhere to go. They don't know what they going to do. Now they complaining and saying this ain't right. Now they saying this ain't this. This is what you get when you vote for racism. See, Kamala Harris wasn't going to treat y'all like that. Even though y'all would have hated Kamala Harris with a passion, she still wouldn't have treated y'all like dog crap. Donald Trump is spitting right in y'all face, and y'all still going to vote Republican in 2026. So we don't care. We not sad y'all losing y'all jobs. But this is a moment in history that should be studied. How a group of people thought that Donald Trump was going to smash the black people, smash the Latinos, smash them. But they the ones are getting smashed. So we don't want to see the tears. We don't want to see all the pain y'all go through because y'all voted for this. 75% of y'all voted for racism. And now y'all finna be broke and don't have nothing. And that's a fuck around and find out story I enjoy. I'm not sad for y'all. Y'all chose this. Y'all wanted this. Y'all believed in this. And now y'all got this. 3,000 of y'all. How y'all gonna pay y'all bills? What's next? And now y'all gonna need some government assistance. And now y'all gonna need some food stamps. And now y'all gonna need some help from the government. But y'all don't want us to get help from the government. So strap them up by the bootlace. Buckle up your pants, put your shirt in, and find a way. Because this is a fuck around and find out story for y'all.
So the FAFO train is stopping in Lexington, Nebraska. The Tyson beef factory in Lexington, Nebraska just announced that they are closing their doors. This is going to affect 3,200 workers in Dawson County. Dawson County voted 72% for bone spurs. I wonder if bathrooms and making Riley Gaines feel less mediocre was actually worth it. It is no secret that Nebraska has been feeling it ever since this spring. The tariffs really hit them hard, and the rolling back of all of the programs that Joe Biden put into place really hit Nebraska to the point where they were already yelling bankruptcy in May. And Bone Spurs kind of knows that his tariffs are the reasons why the prices of groceries and everything else has gone up, because on November 13th, he signed an executive order to undo his executive order. And he's seeking praise for fixing something that he broke. He signed an executive order to remove tariffs from things like beef, coffee, bananas, and tomatoes, as well as some other things. And this is undoubtedly so that he can say that his policies are bringing prices down when people finally start seeing relief for the items that he canceled his tariffs on. But the thing is, he created the problem. He created those price hikes. So signing this order to bring the prices down for items that he deliberately brought the prices up for isn't a win. But he's going to claim it's a win, and his people are going to believe him. But here's the problem when it comes to our beef farmers. The tariffs on beef were kind of keeping them in the game, especially since Bone Spurs went behind their back and made a beef deal with Argentina. Because the tariffs are on imports, meaning everything that we get from other countries is tariffed, that means that the stuff that is made here in the United States was cheaper than the stuff that we got from other countries, which gave the cattle ranchers and beef manufacturers a little bit of a leg up when it came to selling their beef against the competitive market of other foreign countries selling their beef here in the United States. Now that Bone Spurs has taken the tariffs off of beef, and he has screwed the cattle ranchers when it comes to the Argentina deal, as well as leaving tariffs on things that those companies need in order to do their day-to-day work, increasing their overhead costs while also decreasing how much they make and how much they can sell. Taking the tariffs off of beef at that point for imports makes those imports cheaper than the American beef. And thus, people will probably start buying more of the imported beef than the American beef. I really think he has something against cattle ranchers. And the cattle ranchers overwhelmingly voted for Bone Spurs. Were the bathrooms worth it? That's just all I want to know. Leave it down in the comments if you're a cattle rancher and you voted for Bone Spurs. Were the bathrooms really worth it? Was it that important to you to make sure that people of color and marginalized communities don't get a fair shake at work? Was telling it like it is worth your livelihood? This is a lesson for you. Racism and bigotry is expensive. Listen, while you guys are pinching pennies over the holidays to prepare for your factory closing, the rest of us are also going to be closing our wallets. November 25th through December 2nd, we aren't spending anything. And being that you should probably go ahead and save that money, you should probably join us and not spend anything as well. Most of us are going to be cutting back for the rest of the year. And like I said, since you'll be pinching those pennies now because you'll soon be out of a job, you should probably get on that bandwagon too. I hate to say I told you so, but 92%.
The Tyson plant closing in Lexington, Nebraska is essentially one of the biggest logistics plays that we've seen time and time again, to be honest, because it's par for the course at this point. I'm sure we talked earlier in this channel about when Trump was signing the deal to have Argentinian cattle brought over here, Argentinian beef, because these are supposed to be already slaughtered animals brought over to up the supply of beef in America, because it was not enough beef and the demand was so high that the prices were getting outrageous. Beef prices are high, which means the processors who buy beef from the producers are paying a higher price, but they can't just arbitrarily increase the price of the retail beef to match the inflation, because nobody would buy it because it would be too expensive to buy. That means they're taking a cut to their profit margins. And in order for a company to maintain a cut to their profit margins, they have to be crazy. They're going to artificially inflate the demand by restricting the supply chain. And the reason they're doing that is if I can't process the amount of beef we have available, I am the bottleneck. Me being the bottleneck means, hey, that steak you want, now, instead of it being 2 people that want that steak, it's 15 people that want that steak. And by thus, I can raise my prices to increase my profit margin while also maintaining the idea that I'm doing everything I can for the American people. Their claim that there's not enough cattle ready to be slaughtered is false. They just don't want to pay the price for the cattle that is already there. So they're going to artificially inflate the price by restricting the amount of beef they put out in the market. And then what we'll see later is once they've raised the prices and our uproar has settled and we're not the angry mob anymore, then they're going to reopen another processing plant, particularly a smaller one, or maybe 1 or 2 in different areas that they can easily close. And they're going to do that and use that to kind of inflate and deflate the demand to match their profit margins. So let's look at the double play here with a little bit of math. If you got 100 American beef right now going for $5 a beef, that's $500 that the producers, that the producers are going to get from the processors. But if I take and add 20 $2 beef from Argentina to those 100 beef at $5, that means instead of for the same 100 beef that I'm going to buy, I'll buy all the 20 beef. So that's 5 by 20. That's $100 gone. That's going to Argentina now, and only $400 going towards the American beef. But knowing that producers need to get their beef sold, they will lower the price to make sure that the processors buy all of it, thereby meaning that the American farmer is going to get less. The producers, the processors are going to pay less, which is their whole thing, because they're going to increase their profit margin, because they're not going to lower the price of the beef. And then the Argentinians have now been cut in, or the foreign beef has now been cut in to water down the American supply. It's logistics 101.
Well. So this past Friday, Tyson announced that they were going to be closing a factory in Lexington, Nebraska that employs 3,200 workers. Because I think it's incredibly important to keep track of these things, a reminder that 72% of people in Dawson County, Nebraska voted for Donald Trump, and they voted for this to happen to themselves. And the reality is you probably voted just so that Riley Gaines could feel vindicated for finishing tied for 5th place. Not that we need further proof to explain why Donald Trump's trade and economic policies are disastrous for this country. This is actually real-time results. Starting on November 13th, where Trump announced that he is going to be rolling back tariffs on a wide range of agricultural products, including certain beef items. You can see this on the official whitehouse.gov website. The president has thus determined that certain agricultural products shall no longer be subject to the reciprocal tariffs. I'm sorry, wasn't this the foundation of the entire campaign that he ran on? Beef has its own little bullet point. And Trump justifies this by saying it is a move aimed at easing high prices and meeting domestic demand. Let's put a pin in that. You've got his reciprocal tariffs that are driving up prices for the American consumer, but demand still exists. However, people don't want to pay the higher prices, so he removes the tariffs on the international imports of beef. And what the president is effectively saying when he does this is American products and domestically made things are too expensive. Corporations can't make profits if they rely on domestically produced goods, and Trump loves free trade capitalism, so this is what happens. Senator Deb Fischer of Nebraska says basically, this is awful and will have devastating results. Well, it's a good thing you just raised healthcare premiums for your constituents. Representative Mike Flood says our cattle ranchers are being abandoned. Well, Trump basically said this back in February during his State of the Union address, where he said, ranchers, farmers, I love you. You're gonna go through pain, but it'll be worth it, and I love you. Governor Jim Pollan said there's plenty of opportunities for our cattle rancher farmers. Well, glass half full, I guess. This is a perfect example of how to combat the number one thing that MAGA says when it comes to the tariffs. If tariffs are bad, then why do other countries do it? Tariffs aren't bad. The EU uses tariffs very strategically. They use them, though, to protect their domestic manufacturers and industries. By putting tariffs on beef imports, it actually allows our cattle ranchers and our beef industries to be able to compete with the pricing from the other countries. When you lift the tariffs, then we rely on the foreign imports. The president just traded off our cattle ranchers in Nebraska for Brazil, Canada, Mexico, and you guessed it, Argentina. So a reminder to 72% of you in Dawson County, you absolutely voted for this.
Okay, so I'm making this video because I don't know what else to do. I don't know what we're gonna do. My mom and 3,000 other community members are losing their jobs in less than 2 weeks. So my mom, she's gonna lose her house and everything she's ever worked for, and this all happened right before the holidays. Okay, so the week before Thanksgiving, Tyson announced to their employees that in January, they will be closing down the plant in Lexington, Nebraska. My mom, she has worked there for almost 20 years, and this job is how she managed to put food on the table, and this job is the only stability she's ever known. And what makes me more upset is how they told their employees. So after a long shift, they announced in a quick, brief meeting that they will be closing down the plant in January. And then they handed her a letter in English that she couldn't read because she only knows Spanish. And her and other employees, they asked questions and they received no clear answers. So after 20 years of working there, that's how they told her. This closure, it's threatening everything she's had, her income, her home, and future plans. I don't know what we're gonna do. We've been trying to figure out a plan for my mom, but it hasn't been easy. Lexington is a small town with not many job opportunities, and commuting to work to like the next town over is just not ideal because she doesn't have a reliable car. But also my mom, she is about 5 years away from retirement, but we recently just found out that she has $0 saved in her 401k. So not only is she going to lose her house, but now we don't know what to do about her retirement. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. It breaks my heart because my mom, she has spent her entire life fighting just to survive. She has survived severe physical and mental abuse, and yet somehow she still became the kindest, most gentle, generous person I've ever known. She continues to give even when she has nothing left. So her last dollar, her last meal, her last bit of strength, she will give that away out of the kindness of her heart. I don't know, it feels like my mom can never catch a break. She's a good person. She's such a kind person. I don't know why this is happening. Tyson, they didn't offer any real support. There was no clear job placement, no financial or mental support, just no dignity to any of their employees. Like after decades of loyalty, they were all just left confused and scared. And some of the journalists who have reported on this closure, they have been calling Lexington a Trump-heavy town. But what they don't tell you is that only 2,500 people voted in the last election. So I looked at the statistics, and 966 people voted for Kamala and 1,500 voted for Trump. So that's not even a majority of the town. And I've been reading some of the comments saying you get what you voted for, but not everyone here voted. Many people can't vote at all because they're either undocumented or just not eligible. And even if someone did vote differently than you, they still deserve food. They still deserve housing and dignity. No one deserves to lose their livelihood, their home, or their stability as a punishment. Lexington is a small town of 10,000 people, and Tyson is the backbone of the community. So when the plant closes, the entire town is going to feel it. This community is more than politics. It's families, it's workers, it's everyday people just fighting to survive. But no, seriously, my mom, she deserves a life where she doesn't have to fight this hard just to survive. And I'm hoping that this helps bring awareness to not help just my mom, but to help the entire population of Lexington.
They're turning. The Republicans are turning against Trump. Just look it up. There's been interviews with people over the last couple of days, Trump followers originally, who are like, no. They're like, nah, we're done. They're like, yeah, he's messing with us. It's starting to happen. The whole thing with the boat strikes, just ICE, the raids, Kristi Noem, they're talking about she's going to be fired. Like, it's all falling apart. Pete Hegseth. Just keep it up. We don't have to really fight hard. You know, the reality is this. If you feel like you're struggling, if you feel like you're broke, if you feel like your groceries are expensive, you can't afford it, if you're terrified that your health insurance is going, and meanwhile, Trump just keeps giving speeches saying we're doing great, or our economy's great, everything's great, gas prices are down, and everybody knows they're not. It just, like, it's gonna change. The people who supported him, they're just kind of like, yeah, this is kind of a joke. Yeah, we're done with him. We're done. They're done. Change is coming.
And now you've got Nebraska workers, these hardworking people being told to pack up and being told that they will now have no jobs to go to, and they had no backup plan, no safety net big enough to catch that kind of fall, and they had nothing to rely on, and now they have kids, they have school, they have rent, and they don't know where to start from. And people are asking, how did we get here? How did this same person we voted for now not really helping American farmers, and he's just busy trying to rescue other farmers by bailing them out? Let's be honest, this didn't happen just in a vacuum. Trump's tariff policies, especially on steel, equipment, agriculture, and trade, made production more expensive. Companies like Tyson rely on global supply chains. Feed costs go up, export markets now shrink. So what do corporations do when profits get squeezed? They don't take the loss. They shut down plants. They automate. They leave workers behind. This is exactly what you voted for. And here's the uncomfortable conversation nobody really wants to have. A lot of these workers voted for Trump. They voted for America First. They voted for tariffs, as we all know. They voted for tough trade wars. And now they're getting exactly what they were told wouldn't happen. This is exactly the opposite, and now they're facing the wrath. And listen, this isn't me laughing at anyone's pain. Losing a job is so devastating. I don't care who you voted for, but we have to stop pretending policies don't have consequences. We all know you can't scream, bring jobs back, while supporting policies that make it more expensive to run factories in the US. And let's not forget, when companies like Tyson shut down plants, guess what else happens? Food prices go up, meat shortages happen, and consumers pay more and more. So this isn't just about a Nebraska problem. This is an American problem that impacts everyone and impacts every taxpayer. And I really want to hear from you all on this Nebraska Tyson shutdown. Do you think Trump's tariffs were worth it? Do you think these workers were misled? Or do you think this pain is just part of their plan, part of the government's plan? Because at the end of the day, corporations will always protect profits. We all know politicians will always protect power. And it's regular people, factory workers, farmers, families, who end up paying the price. So drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's actually talk about it, and how parents and so many people will lose their jobs and will have nothing to rely on. And what will they do after this company shuts down? Remember, this is one of the biggest companies, and just imagine what will happen to these other small companies just because of tariffs. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Finally, credit goes to all the respective owners of the clips and content used in my video. Your thoughts and perspective made today's work possible. And if, guys, you really loved this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more updates like this. And don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.
So, Trump supporters, if you're not worried now about the economy, now is the time to be worried. Nebraska, Tyson Foods. They're the largest meat producer in the country. They're closing their Nebraska beef processing plant because of Trump economics. Cattle costs have risen $2 billion because of Trump's tariffs, and it has resulted in a net loss of $425 million in 2025 to date for Tyson Foods. So they're closing their meat packing plant, and 3,200 employees in this small town with only 11,000 residents are losing their jobs. 3,200 employees, and I can guarantee a vast majority voted for this. And it doesn't end there. Tyson is taking their 3-shift slaughter operation in Texas down to 1 shift. So a lot more people at their Texas facility are going to be let go. When you talk about big industries now being affected, not the small guy, but those at the top of the food chain being impacted and closing down, we are in a world of economic hurt. And this is just the beginning, because this Trump administration is not focused on fixing the problem. They keep creating more. And I got to tell you, just this Tyson food location in Nevada, there are so many suppliers, so many vendors, contractors every single day that did work for this Tyson facility, whether inside the building or outside the building. These are big contracts that these local businesses are now going to lose. So they're going to be affected as well. Expect more layoffs and bankruptcies downstream of Tyson Foods.